Hi everyone, and welcome back to Stamp with Anna. And today I'm going to show you a card that I made with the new Gumball Greetings products that are in the January to June mini catalog. And I'm just having so much fun with this set. This is one of the cards that we made at a recent card class, and it's a shaker card, and it's just absolutely adorable. So let's get started. What I have, my base is thick whisper white, and it is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. My matte piece is real red, and it is 4 by 5 1/4. And then I have a piece of smoky slate that's 3 3/4 by 5. I have another piece of basic white that is 2 1/2 by 2 1/2. And then I have a little scrap piece of basic white. I also have a scrap of some silver foil. So let's get started with the die cutting. So the stamp set is Gumball Greetings, and it has all of these great stamps. I will be making some cards to show you the stamps themselves, but this one, because I do my classes virtually, I can't have stamped images in it, so I have to focus more on the die cutting or punching. So this card, as you can see, was made mostly by embossing and die cutting, and I do supply the ladies with a tag, and then they will stamp that themselves. But as far as the kit that I sell, I cannot sell stamped images. So this is the stamp set, and we're going to use this this one here, Wishing You the Sweetest Day Ever. That is going on the inside of the card, and the happy birthday comes from a different set. But what we will be focusing on is the coordinating die set, and it is called Gumball Machine Dies. And these are all of the pieces. There's a lot of pieces. Most of the pieces will be used in this card today, but there are some that are just little extras, like these hearts, this candy here, the extra gumballs, and this nice border, and this gumball machine that goes with the little stamped image there. Okay, so we're going to do our die cutting first. So I'm going to bring up my Big Shot machine, and let me just make sure I get that in focus. And I have my magnetic plate, I have an acrylic plate, and then I'm going to put my matte piece on my machine, because I'm going to cut right out of my matte piece. It's a way to save a little bit of paper, and no one's going to see that. So what I have to cut is the front of the machine, the little accents to the machine, you'll see where those go, the other part of the front of the machine, and this tiny piece. Let me just drop that there, as well as this tiny, not so tiny compared to that one, this small little piece here. So I'm going to put my acrylic plate on top, and I'm going to run that through. Okay, and here we have all of our pieces. I'm just going to move my machine off to the side, because I will be using that again. And I'm going to take all of these off. And like I said, there was this tiny little piece. See that tiny little piece? I want to make sure I don't lose that, so I'm going to put that right on my magnet off to the side. And off to the side. And this tiny little piece that I die cut from that tiny die, I'm going to take this and I'm just going to put it aside so that I don't lose it. Up. there's one more thing I forgot to cut, and that is the top of the gumball machine. So I'm gonna bring my machine back in, and I'm gonna find a spot for this to fit, and it's gonna fit beautifully right there. And I'm gonna die cut that through. I can't see. I'm gonna die cut that right through. All right, so I have all of my pieces die cut. I just want to make sure I have my dies all on my magnet so that I don't lose anything. And I'm going to take those and I'm going to put those all aside. And I'm going to bring this piece of real red back in. Looks like Swiss cheese, I know. And I'm going to attach some stamp and seal on it. And I'm going to place that on my card front. Okay, and no one will ever see the condition of that piece, that matte piece. Now I'm going to bring in my smoky slate piece, and I have to die cut this as well. I need to die cut where this hole is going to be. So I'm going to bring in this die. Now I want to point out that the die, the top part of it is shorter than the long part of it. So when you're using it, make sure that the shorter piece is on the top and the longer piece is on the bottom. It's just so that the it'll line up with the bottom piece of it. Okay, so again, my Big Shot, and I'm going to put that there. And I'm going to run this through. Okay. And this piece here I'm not going to use, so I'm just going to put that aside. All right, and here's that. Now I want to emboss that because I want to have a textured background. So I'm going to switch up my plates. And I'm going to use the embossing folder. It's a 3D embossing folder called Brick and Mortar. So I'm going to put my gray granite in there. And I want to be mindful of the way the direction of my bricks. I want to make sure my bricks are going horizontally. And because that is a 3D, I'm going to use my blue plate. And I'm going to run that through. And the result is this beautifully embossed brick piece of cardstock. So I'm going to put that aside. Now, to make my gumball, top of my gumball, I'm going to use a dome. They're called the Gumball Machine Shaker Domes, and they come in a package of 10. And here they are. And you'll notice the top is smaller than the bottom. And there's adhesive on both sides. And I'll show you why. And I'm also going to use the frosted beads. These are tiny. They come 900 in a packet, which seems like a lot. But you do put a considerable amount in. This is more than I typically use, but I'm going to explain all of that to you. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take my dome and I want to remove just the top adhesive piece. So I'm going to bring in my pierce tool, and there it is. Okay, so the back piece still has the adhesive on it. Very important. So now this side here is sticky. I'm going to take that and put that through my brick piece. Okay? And you'll see the shorter side is on the top and the longer side is on the bottom. Okay, so that is the beginnings. Now I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to fill my beads in here. Now, I brought down from my kitchen my measuring spoons because I wanted to show you. I used 1 teaspoonful. All right, there's 1 teaspoonful, and I dropped it in there. That's a good way so that they don't fly all over the place. Trust me, I made a mess the first time I did it. Now I want to see if I have enough. All right, if that is going to be enough for me. So I'm going to bring in my scrap piece of basic white that was 2.5 by 2.5, and I'm just going to lay it over there, and I'm going to turn this over. And I think I have enough beads. So I'm going to turn it over. And so that's, like I told you, it was just 1 teaspoonful. And believe it or not, when I was making my kits, I did measure to see how many teaspoonfuls I got out of this. I was able to get 12 teaspoonfuls. So if that's the ratio that you're going with, you're going to get 12 cards out of 1 package of these. Okay, so now we have our card and we have our dome that's filled. Now we have to remove this adhesive. You may have the thought, like I did, to remove the adhesive before you drop the beads in. And the only problem I saw with that is that if as you're dropping in your beads, one of your beads hits the adhesive part right there, well, it's not going to stay now. If it hits right there and you scooch that bead back in here, that bead is going to have a little bit of adhesive on it. And when you shake your card, it's going to stick to your dome. So I would highly recommend that you put the beads in first. So now I'm going to come back in with my pierce tool, my take your pick tool, and I'm going to very carefully remove that piece without shifting anything. Now I'm going to come back in with my white scrap, which is 2.5 by 2.5, and I'm going to cover that. Okay? And I'm going to press. The reason I covered that was because if I didn't cover that, when my card was together, over here, you would see the red piece of mat because we cut this out, this gray piece with the hole in it. So the thing behind, the cardstock behind that would be the red. If that didn't bother you, I mean, obviously you wouldn't be able to do your die cutting from it because then you would see all your holes. But it's more realistic to have it have something white behind it rather than that red. So that's why I chose white. So now that I have that in, my shaker card is all ready. And as you can see, that 1 teaspoon of beads is quite a lot. Now we're going to put the gumball machine itself together. First thing we're going to put adhesive on is our cap. Okay? You can certainly use liquid glue if you like, and that goes right along the top part of the dome. Now this is why when you're die cutting your dome, you want to make sure that the shorter part is on the top and not the longer part. If this was turned the other way, let's say it was turned the other way and this was the long part, this cap would not fit that perfectly like it does here. You would have a little sticking out. So that's why you need to be mindful of that. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to bring in our bottom piece of the gumball machine, and we're going to bring in this die cut piece. It was made with this die here. Okay? And we're going to use a little bit of liquid glue, fine tip glue. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to use my glue pen. Here's my glue pen. And I'm going to just run it along the outsides of my die piece. And that fits right on this here. And it makes a nice, it gives it its detail. Okay, so the ends, the sides line up, and then this top piece fit, you'll see it, it fits right underneath that little notch. Okay, so there's that. Now, when I die cut this piece out, okay, I got this here, and then I got these two pieces that were, these two pieces that were on the side here. All right, and you don't need those. Then it also die cut out this little piece. You see that was right in there? You don't need that as part of the machine. However, if you're going to use this little slot here, like we are here, you want to make sure that what's behind it is realistic. If we just left it like this and put it on our background, when you open the gumball slot, you would see brick background, and that's not what you would see, right? So we're going to take this piece here, and we are going to use it as a background. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over and put some adhesive on my back piece, and then I'm going to take this piece here and just cover that up. Okay, and now I'm going to put more adhesive on that, and I'm going to put this on the bottom of my gumball machine. Okay, it's starting to take shape. Now, a couple other pieces that we cut out came from this kind of swirly piece there and this small piece here. With my glue pen, I'm going to attach some glue to this piece here, and that's going to fit right along the bottom of the gumball machine, and that just gives it a nice little rim. See, it's just the detail. Then we have this smaller piece here, and again, I'll put a little bit of glue there, and this is the detail piece for the bottom half of the cap. Okay, and that fits right there. Now remember that tiny, tiny little piece that we die cut out? That's this little, looks like a an eyelash. I'm going to put some adhesive on that, and that goes right there at the very top. Now, if this is too small of a piece for you to work with, you certainly don't have to use that piece. It just does add a nice touch to it. Okay, and there it is. Now our gumball machine, the basics of our gumball machine are done. I'm going to put it aside. From the die set, I'm going to use this square die. It's die cuts and embosses, and this piece right here. This is the little turnkey on the machine. So I'm going to run those through the Big Shot. I know I usually have my die cutting done off camera, but I did want you to see exactly which pieces were used. Again, I'm going to put those on my magnet so I don't lose it. Okay, so here we have our pieces for the gumball machine. Now before I attach those, I'm going to bring in my pierce mat, and I'm going to make a little, see this tiny round piece right here? I'm just going to pop a hole in there. And then I'm going to take a silver mini brad, and I'm going to pop that into the turn piece, and then into that piece there. Okay, and I'm going to close it. And when I close it, I don't want to squeeze it real tight because I do want it to have a little freedom to turn. See, so I want that to be able to turn, okay? And now that that's all set, I'm going to attach that to my gumball machine. And this slot here is the top. That's where you would put your nickel in, or whatever, however much it costs. And then just align that there so that you have it centered. And you just want to make sure you have enough room to open this up. Now, at this point, I'm going to attach this to my card front, and then I'm going to come back in. You know what? I think I'm going to put my adhesive on my card front here because it's going to be easier. I'm going to leave a little bit of space because I know I have to have some leeway. Okay, and now this is going to be centered. Okay, and see, you can't tell that you have Swiss cheese underneath there. Okay, so there's that. That's cute. Now, I'm going to do the next step and then put this aside to dry, and move on to the other part of it. So what I'm going to do now is take a little bit of liquid glue, and I'm just going to put some right here. Okay. I'm going to bring my frosted beads back in, and I'm going to just take a couple and lay them down there so that they look like gumballs have just come out to the bottom of the machine. Now they are a little, like I said, they are a little difficult to work with, but all it takes is a little bit of patience. Okay. I think I'm going to put a green one here. Get up there. I should probably. Now I do want those to dry a bit. Oh, lost a spot. I mean, this is a little labor intensive, but it adds a nice touch to the card. Okay, so I want those to dry. I'm just going to press them in very lightly with my finger, and I'm going to leave that aside to dry. I cover my beads so I don't knock them all over. Now I'm going to bring in that little scrap basic white, and I'm going to bring in my Pierce mat because I am using a photopolymer stamp set. And with my Real Red ink, I am going to use the sentiment from Art Gallery. I'm going to use this Happy Birthday. I'm going to ink it up. And I'm just going to drop it there we go. While I have my ink out, I think I'm going to do the inside of my card. And from the gumball set, I'm going to use this Wishing You the Sweetest Day. And again, that is in Real Red. I'm going to very carefully lift this up because I do want that liquid glue to continue to dry. It probably is dry by now, but I just want to make sure I don't knock my gumballs out. And then I'm going to just drop this straight down, straight up. Okay, and that's all my stamping. Now I'm going to put that aside again. Now, once again, I have to bring up my Big Shot. And again, with my magnetic plates and an acrylic plate, I'm going to die cut that out. And I'm going to use the rectangle stitched rectangles. And again, this is, as you know, this is one of my favorite dies. It has a shape in every size. I'm going to use this skinny one here. And I'm going to cut this out. And I'm going to bring it more over to the left because I want that space there because I'm going to put a bow. If I wasn't going to put a bow, I would center it perfectly. But because I'm going to put a bow, because you know me, I love bows, I'm going to just run this through. And with a mini dimensional, I'm going to put a mini dimensional on either side of this tag. And I'm going to put that down here in the bottom left. And again, I want to make this pop. So you see here I have gray, red, and white. I want this end of the edge of the white tab to really be seen. So I'm going to lay it so that it is in the center. It's in the middle of the red one. That way it really pops. I'm going to press that down. And the last thing I'm going to do is attach a little bow that I've made with some scrap, with some real red ribbon that I have. And I'm just going to put a little mini glue dot behind that. And I'm going to put it right here at an angle. Now the tails on that are a tad bit too long, so I'm going to give them a trim. And there's our card. It's a lot of die cutting, but it's just so worth it. The end result is just so sweet. And like I said, this moves because we didn't tighten our brad too much. And we have cute little gumballs on the bottom there. And it opens it up. And there we go. And like I said, that is just 1 teaspoonful of beads. You can certainly make it smaller. You can add more. Sometimes less is more, and I think the less amount of gumballs you have, the better your shake is. If you put a whole lot more than that, I don't think you would get the same nice effect from the shaking. So there's that, and there you have it. If you enjoyed this project, I would love it if you'd give my video a thumbs up, and if while you're here, if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you have any questions at all about this project or any of the products I use, certainly contact me through my blog, www.stampwithanna.blogspot.com. Just a note that beginning tomorrow, my blog is going to be under construction. It'll have a new name, which will be www.stampwithanna.net. However, this blogspot, if you put in the blogspot.com, it'll still take you to the new blog. It's just going to be down for a day or two while the work gets done on it. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed this project, and catch me back here in a few days for some more projects using the great Gumball Greetings stamp set. Thank you.